In this tutorial, you will learn how to implement a contact management application from scratch using Python. If you haven't downloaded, installed, and configured Python and PyCharm, please take a moment to do so before proceeding with this tutorial. Simply search for Python download and PyCharm download, download both, proceed with the installations, and configure them. After opening the PyCharm application, you should see the window displayed in the image in this step. Here, you can opt to open an existing project or create a new project. Click on the New Project option. During this step of creating a new PyCharm project, you will encounter a page displaying properties that enable you to configure the local or project-specific Python environment. Ensure that the base Python field includes the complete path to where your Python application is installed. This path serves as the basis for creating a project-specific Python environment. Click the Create button to proceed. You may see a pop-up in the lower right corner of the screen with a button labeled Exclude Folders. Clicking on this button will prompt Windows Security to ignore the folders associated with this project because they are trusted. Click on the Exclude Folders button. We need to run a command to install the library required for building the user interface of our contact management app. The command should be executed in the terminal. The terminal is the panel displayed at the bottom of the image in this step. If you cannot see it, click on the highlighted button in the image. We will be using the PySide6 Python library to implement the graphical user interface with a window, buttons, and other controls. Please enter the following command, pip install PySide6, and then press Enter. The response generated from running the pip command includes a highlighted line in the tutorial's illustration to indicate that the installation of PySide6 and its dependencies was successful. Next, we need to create a Python file with .py extension to implement the functions that will contain the code to help us create a SQLite database, insert new contact records, list and edit existing contacts, and delete records as well. To create the new Python file, right-click on the project's folder. Next, you need to move the mouse cursor to the New option and select Python File. Let's name this new Python file as database.py. Instructions: type database and then press Enter. The initial lines of code include importing functions from libraries or classes that assist in accessing a SQLite database. Type import SQLite 3. The second line of code defines a variable to store the name of the database containing the contact records. Make sure to type dbName equals contacts.db. The primary function of the Python database file is to ensure that a database file has already been created and that the necessary tables are defined inside. If you are following this tutorial, make sure to type the code exactly as shown in the figure for this step. The second function that should be included in the database.py file is named insertContact. This function is used to insert new contact records into the database. Be sure to include the same code in your database Python file. Next, we also require a function to modify the values of the fields in a contact record. In simpler terms, we need a function to update a contact record. Instructions: ensure that you include the same code in your database.py file. If we need a function to insert a contact record, we also need a function to delete old or invalid contact records. The delete contact function shown in the figure includes the code required to delete an existing contact record when the record's ID is provided. Instructions: remember to type the code for this new function into your own file. Finally, we need two more functions to help us retrieve records from the database. The first function, named getAllContacts, will return all contact records it can find in the database, specifically in the contacts table. The second function, which we will name getContactById, contact ID, will allow us to retrieve a single contact record, assuming a valid contact ID is provided. If you are following the steps of this tutorial, be sure to implement these two functions as well. Now is the time to implement the code that will render a graphical user interface with labels, text boxes, and other user controls to enable the user to create, find, edit, and delete contact records. The code to render the user interface will be contained in its own Python file. To create this new file, right-click on the project's folder, point to New, and click on Python File. Name the new file Contact Dialog and then press Enter. The following lines of code should be typed first. These lines load classes and functions necessary for rendering the user interface with rich graphic user controls. Please ensure you type these lines of code. Python is an object-oriented programming language, and as such, it understands and incorporates the concept of classes. Here, a new class named ContactDialog is declared, deriving from the QDialog class that was imported in the first two lines of code at the top. Please make sure to type the same code. In Python, a class, like in any other object-oriented programming language, includes a special named function used as the constructor of the class. This function is the very first one invoked when a new instance of the class is created. In Python, a constructor is identified by the special name _init. Def is the keyword used to define a function. Previously, we used def to define functions in the database.py file. If you're following along, remember to continue adding code to your ContactDialog class. The code snippet below defines a method named setFieldsReadOnly within the ContactDialog class. This method is responsible for toggling the read-only state of multiple form fields: first name, last name, phone, email, address. This method accepts one parameter, read-only, which is a Boolean, true or false. Within this method, the code snippet adjusts the read-only state of specific form fields: first name edit, last name edit, phone edit, email edit, and address edit based on the value of the read-only parameter. When read-only is set to true, the fields become read-only, preventing users from modifying their content. Conversely, if false, the fields remain editable. This functionality is intended to facilitate switching between view and edit modes within the ContactDialog interface. Remember to implement this method. The highlighted code snippet in the image defines a method named loadContactData within the ContactDialog class. This method aims to load contact data into various input fields within a dialog interface. Here is an explanation of the code's functionality. Fetching the contact. The method retrieves contact data by calling the getContactById function with self.contactId as an argument. This function will either return a contact object or none. This method essentially fills out the dialog's input fields with the data of a contact based on the contact's ID. Please ensure to replicate the provided code within your class. The code snippet provided illustrates the implementation of the getContactData method within the ContactDialog class. This method extracts data from different text fields in the dialog and arranges it into a dictionary. Each field represents a particular piece of contact information, like first name, last name, phone number, email, and address. Please make sure to incorporate the given code into your class. Next, we will create a Python file named main.py. This file will consolidate the integration of the classes and functions implemented in this project. By the way, the name main.py is not required. It could be named anything you want. Instructions. To create the main.py file, right-click on the project's folder, point to New, and click on Python File. Please name the new file main.py and then press Enter. The following highlighted code at the top of main.py includes import statements essential for the application's functionality. These imports are crucial for utilizing components from pyside6.qtWidgets to build the GUI and handling contact data through database functions in a way that is essential for the application's operation. Please type the same imports at the top of your main.py file. A Python class named MainWindow is defined in the following code snippet. This class inherits from QMainWindow, which is a part of the PyQt6 framework used for creating the main window of an application. Make sure to implement this code. Define the constructor function for the MainWindow class using the following code snippet. The highlighted code in the main.py file is within the constructor method of the MainWindow class, which inherits from QMainWindow. The line that makes reference to the word super calls the initializer of the parent class, QMainWindow, to ensure that the MainWindow class is properly set up with all of its parent's properties and methods. Type the highlighted code in the constructor of your subclass to call the parent class's initializer, ensuring proper initialization of your objects. The resize method is used to set the initial size of the main window to 800 pixels in width and 600 pixels in height. This configuration ensures that when the application launches, the window will appear with the specified dimensions. Please make sure to type the same code. In this step, the highlighted code sets up the central widget for the main window class using PyQ6. It creates an instance of QWidget named Central Widget. Then, it assigns this control as the central widget of the main window with the help of the setCentralWidget function. This step is crucial for organizing and adding additional UI components to this central area in the application. Instructions. Please make sure to type the code exactly as shown. In the highlighted line of code, the variable layout is being assigned a new instance of QVBox_layout. This layout manager arranges widgets vertically in a linear order. It's commonly used in PyQt applications to manage the layout of widgets within a window or dialog, ensuring they are aligned vertically in the order they were added. Instructions. Please ensure to enter the highlighted line of code if you are following this tutorial. In this highlighted section of the code, 3 actions are performed to set up a search input field in a PyQt6 application. 1. Creates an input line where users can type text. It initializes the search edit attribute of the class as a QLineEdit object. 2. Sets a placeholder text, search, within the input line. This text is displayed until the user begins typing, providing users with a hint about the expected input. 3. Incorporates the QLineEdit widget into the existing layout. It ensures that the input line is visually part of the user interface, arranged according to the layout rules defined in the code. Make sure to implement the highlighted code. The code snippet below initializes and configures a QTable widget within a PyQ26 application. It prepares the table with 5 columns for displaying contact information and labels each header. The first column, labeled ID, is set to be hidden. Here is the explanation of each line of code. 1. Starts by initializing the table widget. 2. Sets the number of columns to 5. 3. Defines the headers for each column: ID, first name, last name, phone, and email. 4. Hides the first column ID to maintain clean visuals. 5. Ensures the table widget is displayed by adding it to the layout. Please ensure to implement the highlighted code. The highlighted section of the code creates a layout for buttons in a PyQ2 application. It utilizes a QH box layout to organize multiple QPush button widgets, each labeled with specific functions such as add, edit, visualize, and delete. These buttons are then added to the layout, which is subsequently included in the main layout of the application. This setup facilitates user interaction within the contact management app, providing options to add, edit, visualize, or delete contacts. Here is a breakdown of what the code accomplishes. 1. Creates a QH box layout named Button Layout. 2. Generates QPush button objects for buttons with labels Add, Edit, Visualize, and Delete. 3. Adds these buttons to the button layout. Finally, incorporates button layout into the main layout of the application by employing layout.addLayout_button_layout. If you are following the steps of this tutorial, please ensure that you type the same code. This line sets the layout for the central widget in the application's main window. The layout variable organizes the widgets, such as the search bar, table, and buttons, into a cohesive structure within the main window. Type the code shown in the figure. The highlighted block of code shows the connections between user interface elements and their respective functions. Line 1 connects the text change in the search edit to the filter table function. Line 2 connects the Add button click to the Add contact function. Line 3 connects the Edit button click to the Edit contact function. Line 4 connects the Visualize button click to the Visualize contact function. Line 5 connects the Delete button click to the Delete contact function. Make sure to type the same code. In the highlighted area, 2 functions are being called.